Bateman Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Bateman's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at batemanresources.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Jordan Bateman, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Jordan, the BC government announcing a $1.5 billion surplus, but the Auditor General, who works for the government and the people, says it's more like $7.2 billion, and it's because of extra tax revenue and extra taxes. How does that feel for the Independent Contractors Association?
Well, I mean, look, independent contractors are taxpayers like everyone else. Over the years, including under the BC Liberal government, the Auditor General has calculated budget surpluses and deficits differently than the Comptroller General, who does it on behalf of the government. This is a long-standing accounting thing, and frankly, it's accounting minutia that most of us couldn't possibly understand or explain. It's just different ways of calculating it. But here's what we know, and here's what they agree on. In the past year, British Columbia raised tax revenue by about $6 billion. That's $6 billion in more taxes, new taxes flowing into government. That's $6 billion coming out of businesses, coming out of homeowners, coming out of taxpayers at all points on the income spectrum, going into government. And, when the BC NDP took over British Columbia, first of all, we were paying $6 billion less in taxes, and we had more money in a surplus. $2.7 billion was the last surplus the BC Liberals left. So, here we have a government that has taxed us $6 billion more and is breaking its arm, patting itself on the back when actually they've frittered away about $1 billion of the surplus. So, we're pretty concerned with where these numbers are headed. We have some great concerns. We need to remember that the numbers that were released take us up to March 31st this year. A lot has happened since then in forestry and in housing and in retail and other parts of the economy. And I think Carol James is tightening the belt in Victoria. I think she's going to have to, because I don't think they can keep spending and taxing the way they have and to have a surplus at this time next year.
Does she have any goals in mind with all of these extra taxes and fees that she's put on homes that have already lost billions of dollars in equity?
No, and in fact, we in the media have been asking, what is the goal? She talks about price correction. What does that mean? We ask, is that 10%, 15%, 25%, 70%? Like, what is the correct price correction that you want, Minister? They never give any specifics. They have no targets in mind. They just want to continue to, see it go down and feel like they're doing something on affordability. Now, a lot of what's happened, there's taxation issues. There's also the federal government's mortgage stress test that changed. That's actually greatly hurt buyers, entry-level buyers, because they have to come up with so much more for a down payment than they used to. So, every homeowner is being squeezed at different parts of the spectrum. Where we're actually seeing these numbers cause concern in the broader economy, just beyond housing, is in retail sales. So in 2017, retail sales, or 2018, retail sales went up 9%. This year, it's much less. It's more like 2%. And what we think is happening is that people have lost so much equity in their homes that they're not buying that, replacement stove or that replacement fridge. They're not, upgrading their vehicle this year. They're not doing those big purchases that you need in order to keep retail strong and to keep sales tax flowing into the provincial government.
Well, the government has the attitude, what do you need a lot of home equity for? It's not like you're going to use it. Well, how do they know that? How can they make that assumption?
Well, exactly. Listen, these taxes, $6 billion in new and raised taxes, none of which have any kind of business plan attached to them, none of which have any kind of impact analysis on what they would actually do to the economy, what they would do to employers. That's just not how this government rolls. They don't bother. They kind of shoot first and aim later. The speculation tax maybe being the best example. It's a tax that doesn't actually tax speculation, even though that's what they call it. Turned out to be more of a vacancy tax. They swore up and down it wouldn't affect British Columbians. Well, 20,000 British Columbians now pay it. They swore up and down that it wouldn't hurt the economy. Well, the economy, clearly, a bunch of equity has come off the books. And now you have people who don't want to pay this tax, but can't get rid of their, homes either because, the NDP have ground that, the home sales to a halt. So, yeah, it's a tough time, and, it's nice to see the NDP wandering around claiming that they're great fiscal managers, but, really what's happening is they're living off the final gasps of the very strong economy they were handed in 2017 by the previous government.
What about the BC government's very poor rollout of legal marijuana, shutting down the dispensaries that were there before and met city bylaw standards, and now they're missing out in millions, perhaps billions of dollars in marijuana revenue because they don't have legal stores ready to go? Yeah,
it's completely perplexing how this has gone. John Horgan and Mike Farnworth have no answers as far as why the rollout has been so poor. I think the last number I saw was about $3 million worth of legal marijuana was sold in BC last month, or the last month that was calculated. Well, $3 million is nothing for an industry that most people thought was in the hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars. Remember the old days when they used to say marijuana was BC's number one cash crop? If you believe that, and if that is still true, then government is forfeiting billions of dollars in sales. So, yeah, listen, this is, we've kind of coined a phrase around here at ICBA called Horganomics. Horganomics is essentially higher taxes, more government spending, the idea that there's that no jobs are good unless it's a government job, and red tape on businesses. And where you see Horganomics coming through in the marijuana industry is, more red tape on those businesses that want to be set up, so they keep private businesses out. No good job except a government job. He's clearly favoring government stores over private sector cannabis dispensaries, because he wants to make sure those folks are on the public payroll and in unions that give his party millions of dollars and lots of workers, and high taxes. If maybe they need to review the tax structure if they haven't priced the black market out yet. Maybe they need to be looking at that as well. So, yeah, that's Horganomics, and it's something that we're going to see come to roost over and over again in different sectors of the economy. We see it in real estate, we're seeing it in retail, we're seeing it in forestry, now we're seeing it in cannabis.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after the break.
I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
Grand Portage Resources' Herbert Gold Project in southeast Alaska highlights increased gold resource, indicated and inferred, of 860,000 ounces, in excess of 10 grams per ton gold. Expansion drilling is planned on the Herbert Gold property for the summer of 2019. Grand Portage Resources trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, the BC Business Council has come out with their economic projection for the province. What's it look like?
Yeah, it's not good. And this is actually another big fiscal constraint that's going to come down on Carol James. So Carol James put out her budget for this year, the 2019-2020 budget, with a 2.4% expected growth rate in provincial GDP. And finance ministers love the growth rate because that's basically saying the economy is going to grow by this much, and therefore it's reasonable to expect that taxes, royalties, all the other things that government collects will probably grow by about that amount as well. It's kind of like free money for them. they don't have to defend it. It's just, the pie is bigger, therefore their slice of the pie is also expanded. The problem is they were projecting a 2.4% growth rate. So was the BC Business Council. BC Business Council, a couple of months ago, downgraded that to 2.2 based on some real estate numbers. They've now downgraded it to 2.0 based on what's happening in the forestry sector and in real estate and with the retail numbers. So right there, you can see growth is starting to slow down in British Columbia. That means less of that, larger pie money coming into provincial coffers. And that's why, we've heard that, Carol James has made it clear to her cabinet colleagues and to senior bureaucrats within the government that, just because you have a $1.7 billion surplus doesn't mean there's money to be spent, that the cupboards are increasingly bare, and that, they need to have some tighter fiscal controls in order to, continue to roll out their platform.
Has BC lost out on infrastructure funding from Ottawa?
Well, that's a good question. Probably, but Ottawa has not been great at doling it out anyways. Like, the problem for us in BC is, if you compare us to, what Ontario and Quebec gets, we're always going to be way less because we just don't have that same political critical mass of seats. It's just, the federal Liberals are famous for doling out money to friendly ridings or to swing ridings that they want to win. That's the problem there. Now, the question is, we're heading into obviously into the federal election campaign. There's been a lot of criticism of Doug McCallum for claiming that claiming that he wants SkyTrain all the way out to Langley when all they can afford is to basically 4 more stops in Fleetwood in the current budget envelope. I do wonder if McCallum is counting on Andrew Scheer and Justin Trudeau coming to town, seeing these swing ridings in Surrey, and promising hundreds of millions of dollars more for that project, thus forcing John Horgan to match provincial dollars. I kind of think that's probably what McCallum's plan is. It'll be interesting to see if it works. And then that also brings to mind the Patello Bridge, which the province is building, the Massey Tunnel, which needs to be replaced. Are we going to see more federal commitments coming down the pipe?
Well, so many projects talked about. Gosh, and it seems it takes about 25 years to get them done.
Yeah, I mean, like how long have we talked about SkyTrain in Surrey? Surrey SkyTrain has had 4 stations since, 1991? You're talking about entire generations of kids growing up and leaving, and, never seeing a SkyTrain station being built in Surrey. Some of that is, frankly, Surrey's fault. She was a very popular mayor, but Diane Watts made a critical mistake. She allowed the north of the Fraser Mayors to get their Evergreen line first before SkyTrain was expanded in Surrey and into Langley. I said it was a mistake. I was on council in Langley at the time. I said it was a mistake then. They swore up and down, no, we'll give the Evergreen Mayors their thing, and then they'll support the South Fraser on theirs. And here we are, a decade later, and still nothing has been done or built or constructed. So, yeah, we got to do better. We've got to do better. What I don't understand about provincial governments, is why don't they just have $1 billion or $1.5 billion in an envelope every year in the budget, and every year that's what goes towards transit infrastructure across the province. Instead, it's kind of this boom or bust mentality where, they'll make an announcement and they'll make a re-announcement and re-announce the re-announcement, and then maybe eventually they'll get the money. If you just had the money in the budget and every year that envelope filled back up, you could fund these projects consistently, and you could move on and say, yeah, okay, so we can only do 2 stations or 4 stations this year with this envelope, but we'll do another 2 stations next year and 2 after that and 4 after that. We can do this bridge, and then when that bridge is done, we can move to that bridge and that bridge and that bridge. Like, it just makes more sense to have stable, predictable transportation infrastructure funding. We wouldn't fund, healthcare operations like we do in this kind of boom and bust way. I don't know why we do it with transportation.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, housing starts for a little while in BC looked like they were about to boom again, but is that boom continuing?
No, look, it's not ICBA or the Fraser Institute or the BC Liberals or some nefarious right-wing organization that's predicting a downturn in housing starts. It is actually the NDP government, based on their best research from all sorts of different organizations, who say that housing starts are going to drop by 1/3 over the next 2 years. What we're seeing right now, though, is an increase, and it really is a short-term spike. So there's a whole bunch of changes coming to development cost charges, community amenity charges, and other fees that municipalities, most notably the City of Vancouver, charge. So, a lot of builders, developers are trying to get the projects they already had in the hopper, they've already pre-sold, they're trying to get them in the ground now in order to beat out those new DCCs. The problem isn't that generation of projects, it's the next one. We're not seeing a lot of permits or applications or pre-sales for the next round of housing starts. So yeah, there's a spike right now, but even Carol James, I think, kind of hinted that she doesn't expect that spike to continue, and certainly heard the analysts in the Ministry of Finance don't either. And that, of course, is bad news for construction companies like the ones we represent. It's also bad news for people wanting to buy into the market because, fewer homes being built means those homes become more expensive, harder to get into. And all the spin-off jobs. And frankly, for municipalities, it's bad because municipalities make a fortune off of these new construction, new builds. So again, it's another worrying sign for the BC economy.
What should the provincial government be doing to turn that around?
Provincial government should be, first of all, being a lot tougher on municipalities and saying, look, your permit times are ridiculous. And the funny thing is, provincial governments know this of every stripe. The Liberals used to struggle with it. Now the NDP are. We look at Surrey, for example. The NDP made a big promise. We'll have all the portable classrooms out of Surrey. We're going to build so many schools, it'll make your head spin. Well, the problem is, there's actually more portables today than there were 2 years ago in Surrey when they took over. And look, some of it is the NDP's fault. They make brash promises that they can't possibly, match. But some of it's also Surrey's fault. They're so slow on permitting, rezoning, collecting the land necessary. Like, the provincial government should be going after the municipalities and saying, look, we're not going to fund, certain services until we actually get permits faster. And not just us, but, across the board. Like, the red tape at municipalities rivals the red tape at the provincial government. And again, it comes back to that term Horgonomics, where red tape and over-regulation and, constant studies and expert reviews of the expert reviews and then expert reviews of that expert review of that expert review. It just goes on, and there's this paralysis that happens where you can't actually get anything done. I think municipalities are experiencing it as well, and I think it's a real flaw, a real fault in our democratic system that we need to correct, because we need, business is about being nimble now. You got to be quick, you got to be nimble, you got to be ready to respond to market conditions. Governments have just proven hopeless at that.
Has there been consultation? Have you sent delegations or called up people and said,
consultation on consultation, and then they consult about the consultation, and then we should really consult about how much consultation we're having on the consultation. Like, there's consultation. It's not fake consultation, because there are real people involved, but it's not deep, meaningful consultation that actually, ends up in solutions. Oftentimes it's, consultation that, they want to check off a box. Sometimes it's consultation that, they kind of begrudgingly do, or it's very slow consultation. So it's a frustrating time. Builders are frustrated. I think probably if you put the provincial government on truth serum, they would be frustrated with municipalities. Again, it comes down to being nimble, being responsive to market conditions, and governments just aren't good at that.
Jordan, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Jordan Bateman, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. His website, icba.ca. If you have any questions for Jordan or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.